What's going on, everybody? David here, back with another video. So today we're going to talk about this fourth stimulus check, because I know a lot of people are talking about this. Is there going to be another stimulus check? So I did a poll. I'm going to show you guys the poll, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the reality and will we be seeing a fourth stimulus check. We're also going to take a look at the American Jobs Plan. So this is the infrastructure bill you've been hearing a lot about in the last couple of weeks. So we're going to listen to the Energy Secretary. She's going to talk about the plan forward when it comes to this infrastructure bill. But first off, you guys can do me a favor. Please hit the like button. It does help with the YouTube algorithm. Also, please subscribe to the channel. Hit that little bell notification. That way you'll get notified anytime we put out a video. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is the fourth stimulus check. So I know you guys are all wondering, is there going to be another stimulus check? And in the comment section, a lot of people are asking this question. And as of right now, we don't know. We don't know what they're going to do. So I did do a poll, and I want to show you what this poll showed here. So do you think we will see another stimulus package with stimulus checks? 4,600 people participated in this poll. We had 66% of the people say yes, and 34% of the people say no. Now, my thoughts when it comes to this whole stimulus check, fourth stimulus check, this is going to be a rough hill, a rough, steep hill to climb in order for us to get to another stimulus check. And this is, of course, this is my opinion, but right now we have about 70 Congress people that are on board for another stimulus package with stimulus checks. However, that's not a lot. Okay, if you look at just the Senate alone, you have 10 senators that are open to a fourth stimulus package. That's 10 senators out of 100, and you need at least 50. And so that's what we're looking at right now when it comes to another stimulus package. And you know that we have at least 50 senators right now that are opposed to another stimulus package. They were opposed to the last stimulus package. And so this is not one of those things that's going to be easy. The best thing that I can see, the best strategy at this point, and you have some Congress people coming out and saying this, add some of this stuff to this infrastructure bill. And that's why this infrastructure bill is very, very important, because it's going to be a $2.5 trillion proposal at this point. That's President Biden's proposal. And you have Congress people that want to add to that. So add more things to this infrastructure bill. And so you might see some things to stimulate the economy in this infrastructure bill. And that's not even talking about jobs. I mean, jobs are going to stimulate the economy. And this is the American Jobs Plan. Their whole reason for this infrastructure bill is to create new jobs. And so because of that, that's going to help stimulate the economy. And you might have some other things on top of that that will help stimulate the economy. So I stated this before. This is a very, very important package. This infrastructure bill is a big deal. And in my opinion, this is a bigger deal than what we've seen in the past with the other stimulus packages. This is going to be something that can help all Americans, and a variety of different ways it can help all Americans. So now I want to take a look at the Energy Secretary. She's going to talk a little bit more about this infrastructure bill. So here we go.
Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm to talk about this. Thank you for being here today, and good morning to you.
Good morning.
Watching and listening to the president yesterday, does it seem like this bill's getting a haircut already?
Pretty tough question right off the bat, right? Does it seem like this is getting a haircut already? So President Biden, he did come out with his plan, and the corporate tax rate is the big issue here, the big hot button issue. You have some politicians that don't want to raise this tax rate, corporate tax rate, from 21% to 28%. And so President Biden, he already indicated, you know what, I'm open to negotiate this. And so that was that question. But right out of the gate, you know, they're not wasting any time on Fox. Here we go.
Well, you know, it's a great question, Bill, because first of all, of course, the Congress is not in session, so he hasn't had a chance to sit down face to face with the members of Congress, which he will do. And a number of us have been doing, at least virtually. But I think that, you know, this bill is so reminiscent of a bipartisan bill that was passed in December. It was the Energy Act of 2020, which had enormous bipartisan support, investing in the technologies that will help us win this clean energy future that both sides voted for. So this is really a fulfillment of the down payment that was made in that Energy Act of 2020.
Would you concede he pulled back a little bit yesterday already?
Well, I think that he has said from the very beginning that he wants to see compromise. He wants to have this be bipartisan. I hate to see, language on either side that really sticks people without recognizing that there are so many elements that both parties like in this bill and that they have voted for in the past. Who doesn't want America to create the supply chains for our own energy security, to have manufacturing in this country? Who doesn't want to have a safe electric grid? Who doesn't want to make sure that we are building the technologies of the future and not allowing our economic competitors to eat us for lunch? There's so much in this bill to like that I hope people don't take positional arguments, especially since the American people seem to like so much of it.
That's a great.
Okay, and one thing I want to mention too, this argument has been going on for over 10 years now as far as this infrastructure bill. So the last two administrations were talking about this infrastructure bill. It hasn't gone anywhere. It's just going back and forth, back and forth. Politicians aren't making any decisions as far as how to move forward. And so if President Biden was able to get this done, whether it be bipartisan or not, this would be a huge accomplishment because this is something that's been in the making for 10 plus years.
Andre, to the question I wanted to ask you about, in an interview with PBS, you had said that there are many more jobs in this clean energy realm than there have been in the fossil fuel industry itself. But in terms of that supply chain, like when, for example, you ask people to go out and find a solar job or a green energy job, a lot of those jobs are in China. And traditionally, the jobs in the traditional fossil fuel industry have been here in America. So if we try to push too much, are we giving more jobs to China than we are to our own people?
This is the perfect question that you have asked, because this is why we need to bring manufacturing here. Why are we allowing our economic competitors to take, for example, battery manufacturing for electric vehicles, and we've got to rely on supply chains elsewhere, whether it's the critical materials that are in those batteries or the batteries themselves? Why are we standing by the side of the road and allowing China to come in and swoop up all of the manufacturing of solar panels, et cetera?
So are you saying that all of a sudden the solar panels are going to be made here under this bill?
I think solar panels should be made here. Why would we be buying solar panels from a country that has human rights violations? Why wouldn't we be making them here? Why wouldn't we be making the supply chain for those solar panels here? It's insane that we have allowed it. We've stood by and watched those jobs go away. This American Jobs Act has a huge investment in our manufacturing and our supply chain. I say this from Michigan. I say this as somebody who has seen these jobs go.
But what about all the people that have lost their jobs already?
Oh,
thank you, Madam Secretary. I just wonder about all the people that have lost their jobs already. Once the Keystone Pipeline was canceled within the first 6 hours of this administration, and they were told by the climate czar, John Kerry, to go and find a green energy job or a solar job, and they can't. We've talked to many of them. They can't find those jobs. And how long do we expect them to wait? And what are they supposed to do in the meantime?
So the interviewer here, she's asking questions, but these questions, I don't think anyone can argue with, yes, we should be bringing these jobs back to America. So if there's a situation where solar panels are being built in China, they should be built out here. I don't think there's any argument when it comes to that. And so it's just interesting, the questions that she's asking. She's actually setting this whole thing up. The interviewer is setting this whole thing up for this infrastructure bill. Yes, there's urgency. It needs to get done right away because the questions that she's laying out are questions like, yes, we should be building stuff here. We shouldn't have stuff built in China. We're not focused on improving their economy. We're focused on improving ours. That's more the reason why this infrastructure bill needs to go through, because once it goes through, then you'll have those jobs.
Yeah, this is really important that these construction jobs for plumbers, for pipe fitters, for sheet metal workers are embedded in the core of this American Jobs Act or this American Jobs Plan. That's what the infrastructure pieces are all about. They will get jobs. That money will flow as soon as Congress acts. This is why this is an urgent moment. We are 8.4 million jobs shy of where we were before the COVID crisis began. It's why we've got to act on this with alacrity and move on it so that we can put those construction workers to work, building pipelines for CO2, building pipelines for hydrogen, making sure that we repair pipelines that are leaking methane, for example. So many jobs that could be in this infrastructure package that are supported by both sides of the aisle, or at least historically have been.
You've gone out of your way to make a point about getting Republican support. There was a letter that was produced by 10 Republicans just yesterday. This is like Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins and Mitt Romney. They're the ones who went to the Oval Office on the 1st of February saying, we want to do a deal, and they put a deal on the table. Well, just yesterday.
Okay, now this is really interesting. The way the interviewer's kind of posing this question here, as far as them coming to the table, bipartisan, right? He's talking about the stimulus package, the last stimulus package. So February 1st, they came to the table, and he's talking about Senator Murkowski. They came to the table, and you had 10 senators that wanted to move forward with the stimulus package, but they wanted to negotiate, right? Their negotiation was $600 billion. The offer at the time was $1.9 trillion. So they came to the table saying, we want to negotiate, but they want to negotiate at $600 billion when the asking price at the time was $1.9 trillion. So that's not a negotiation. Come on. I mean, you want to sell a car, and you want to sell that car for $19,000. And someone comes to the table and says, you know, I'll buy that car from you, but I want to spend $6,000. Okay, you want to spend $6,000. That might open a negotiation, but if you stay around that $6,000, we don't have a deal. I'm going to go to that next person that wants, that's willing to pay that $19,000. So these are not. I mean, this is one of those situations where you could say, well, yeah, they want to negotiate, but $600 billion is not a negotiation. If the asking price is $1.9 trillion, I mean, you have to, at some point, you have to be at a point where you realize, look, this is not good faith negotiating. This is just, they want to say that they're negotiating, but they're not really offering much.
Joe Biden said they didn't move an inch. But the point in early February is that Democrats in the Senate went to reconciliation within 24 hours of that meeting in the Oval Office. So if that's the track record, why would any Republicans get behind your plan now?
Well, this is a different bill. That was a rescue package. We had to get shots in arms. This is a recovery package, if you will. This is making sure that we set our nation on the path to win the future. And that means we must have bipartisan support. Lisa Murkowski and Joe Manchin are the two senators who brought Democrats and Republicans together for that energy bill that I described that was passed just in December. I know that leadership exists. I know people want to be able to vote.
Yeah, well, you got to work with them, too, and I think you would grant that, correct?
I'm sorry, say that again.
You have to work with them, too. And I think you would grant that, correct?
For sure.
Last word.
Absolutely. 1,000%.
All right. So that was the Secretary of Energy, Ms. Granholm, and she's pretty much just talking about what she wants to see and how they want to move forward when it comes to this infrastructure bill. It was very interesting that question at the very end there is, why would Republicans want to work with you in a bipartisan fashion to move forward with this infrastructure bill if you have budget reconciliation? And the answer is because it's for the American people. Because if this is something that's going to help the American people, I don't care if you're a Democrat or you're a Republican, you should be in support of that. And if you do have issues with certain things, that's okay. But at least come to the table with realistic expectations. Don't come to the table saying, well, we don't want to spend anything, or we want to spend $600 billion, or we want to only spend $1 trillion when the asking price right now on the table is $2.5 trillion. And they're talking about having this pay for itself by raising that corporate tax rate. So if you want to come to the table, come to the table. But if you're going to say, well, yeah, these things are nice, but we don't want to raise the corporate tax rate, well, then how are you going to pay for it? How is it going to be paid for? So this is one of those situations where we're going to have this kind of back and forth. And I think budget reconciliation is probably going to be the only option, because you're going to have Republicans saying that they don't want to deal with this at all. They don't want to do anything to pay for it because they don't want to raise that corporate tax rate. And so it's not going to go anywhere unless you go with budget reconciliation. And of course, you have some Democrats that are not on board for reconciliation right now. And so you're going to have to convince people like Senator Manchin to move forward with this infrastructure bill, which I think it's a lot easier to convince 1 or 2 senators than it is to convince 50 senators, or we can even say, let's say if it's the Republicans, 10 of those senators to come across the aisle to give us that 60 votes that would be needed in the Senate in order to get this infrastructure bill passed without doing budget reconciliation. So what do you guys think about this? Let's talk a little bit about that. So I did pose this question. Do you think the American Jobs Plan is needed? And we had 2,800 people participate in this poll. 86% of the people said yes. 14% of the people said no. So vast majority of you guys think that, yes, we do need another American jobs, or we need an American Jobs Plan. And that's good. That's really good news. That I'm glad that a lot of the viewers are looking at this and saying, yes, this is something that's needed. We do need jobs in America, and I'm all for that. So a lot of those jobs that are in China right now that are building batteries and building solar panels, yes, bring those back to the U.S. Bring them to the U.S. We need it now more than anything, just because of the situation that we've had in the last year and all these people who've lost their jobs. So I think this is the perfect time for us to move forward with this American Jobs Plan, but we just have to see how Congress works around this. And if they plan to use budget reconciliation, they're going to use budget reconciliation. But this is something that hopefully we can get done within the next couple of months as far as the first part of this American Jobs Plan. And then we'll look at the next part maybe later down the road, maybe the end of the summer. And also something else worth mentioning is the fact that this is not just about roads and bridges and building solar panels and things like that. There are also things in this infrastructure bill and both infrastructure bills that will help the American people as far as going to college, as far as the elderly, as far as is housing. So there are a lot of different things that are at play here. So we'll dive more into some of the other parts of this proposal in the future, but I just want to kind of give you a broad scope of this is what we're looking at in the next couple of months. If you guys have any questions, post them down below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.